Dan Roselli, I think everyone knows and loves Dan locally. He's got a really amazing story locally, but I think has a bigger picture for the nation and where we're going. Dan, welcome to the stage. Great to see you. Thanks for being part of it.
Happy to do it.
We've been working together, what, over 5-6 years now?
Yeah, since HMG first decided to come to Charlotte, I think.
About 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, hey, give us a little high level, for people who don't know, your background, context, your current adventure or venture is really fascinating, and where you see the state of startups and the accelerator here in Charlotte, and how it hopefully connects to the broader HMG global venture capital firm that I have.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I need to correct you on one thing. You said a whole bunch of people in Charlotte know and love me. That's a big leap right there, know and love. So a lot of people know me. So for those of you who don't know, about 12 years ago, Sarah, my co-founder, wife, and business partner, started to try and build the technology infrastructure and community here in Charlotte. So we did a crazy thing that only an entrepreneur would do in the middle of the 2009 recession. We bought an empty downtown office building here in Charlotte to turn into our tech and entrepreneurship center. A lot of you know that name now. It's called Packard Place. We use our master brand now, RevTechLabs, so Packard Place is part of that. But then we started accelerators in the fintech space, insurtech space, health tech space, run major events like fintech and insurtech generations. In November, we produced the Venture 135 event, which is now the largest venture event in the Southeast United States. We do the Health Innovation Summit. And then we started a venture fund in the fintech and insurtech space. And we've determined that Sarah and I are now on the cap table of more Charlotte startups than anyone in Charlotte's history. So we've had a busy decade.
Very, very cool. What kind of spaces are you investing in?
So locally, it's agnostic, right? So we want for local entrepreneurs, still a lot of fintech, a lot of suretech, some good energy startups. So those are the verticals that Charlotte's deep in, but all technology, so not a lot of physical product. Our alumni have raised a little over $2.5 billion in the 11 years we've been operating, $350 million in exits, a couple public companies, 1,200 local jobs created, 3,000 entrepreneurial events, and 45,000 pints of beer.
Oh, wow, I like the last point.
Yeah, all you need to run an entrepreneurship center, if you don't know the playbook, you need really good internet and really good beer and really good coffee. That's all you need.
There you go. Good stuff. Any questions for Dan? I want to open this up straight away to get the audience interacting here. I find it fascinating. I think we're in the steepest innovation cycle we've ever seen in my 30-plus years of experience. Yourself?
Yeah, we love the idea of thinking long-term on this. There's a guy, Brad Feld, you may know, founded Techstars, Foundry Group, and he wrote this thing called the Boulder Thesis on how to build entrepreneurial and tech communities, and it's called the Boulder Thesis because he lives in Boulder. But what he talks about, and we had a very similar philosophy. His book came out, and I'm like, he stole my ideas. He didn't. But the idea is you have to take a 20-year vision to building a tech community. And even now, 12 years into our journey, we're thinking the next 20 years, not the next 8 years. And it is a little bit like farming. It's creating fertile ground and soil for these things to take off. And now, a lot of you all know in this room, Charlotte's one of the hottest tech communities in the country in terms of growth of tech talent. You see us on all the national metrics now, but that's 10, 12 years worth of work by a lot of people in this room, and you see the fruits of it, but it takes years to do that. And the last thing I'll say on that point, if you look at the slope of the line of Charlotte, I think our slope of the line is as steep in terms of growth and momentum as any ecosystem in the country. We were starting from a smaller base, but I think the future looks really bright.
So what's unique about Charlotte, and what do you like about it being this tech hub, emerging as a leader in North America? So
we have a couple things that are tailwinds for us here that are true for a lot of big companies. Quality of life, cost of living, size of city, airport, which you can get to any city in the world. There's a lot of infrastructure that's here that are huge tailwinds for Charlotte, for all of you and your companies as well. 25 years ago, when I was a Bank of America executive, we couldn't get 20-somethings to come to Charlotte. There was very little attractive about Charlotte for a 20-something. Now 20-somethings choose Charlotte first and then find their careers. And I think that's happening more and more as people want to have a life that's more in balance. They want to have a location that they love. And I think we start talking about a global mobile workforce and some of the trends that we talked about earlier this morning. I think Charlotte as a geographic location still has a huge advantage. And during COVID, we had tons of tech entrepreneurs moving out of the Valley, moving out of New York, who are like, why am I paying $3,000 for a 900 square foot apartment in the Valley when I can live in Charlotte? So I think we got a lot of tailwinds here for a few decades.
So what's your model? How do you look at ventures? We look at TAM, we look at three spaces, AI, SaaS, and cyber. We be my venture firm, then look at the founders. Do they have a success track record? And then we look at their ability to lead and be business people. And then finally, access to world-class engineers. It always comes back to your software engineers.
Yeah. Well, so for us, you have to understand we play at a very early space, right? So we're at the seed, just going to market, finding marketplace validation stage. So in that seed, post-seed stage, not the later stage stuff. So for us, there's not a lot of metrics you can look at, right? You can look at some early product market fit, but it's really about the founders and the founding team, right? That sense of tenacity and drive. If there's one characteristic that I think is predictive of success, it's how bad they want it. And we've had founders who will come to us and say, why are you doing this opportunity? And they're like, well, I want to start a company so I go make a lot of money. That's a really bad answer. Well, we all want to make a lot of money. There's got to be a bigger burning yes to why you're trying to do what you're doing. Go back to the Covey conversation earlier, right, about having a why and the purpose of why we're trying to do something. As a founder, you have to have a mission that people will want to rally around because you need to win their hearts in that drive. And so I think the founders that have that drive, that have a very clear mission of what they're doing and why, are the ones that we look for.
That's a really, really good point. Thanks for reinforcing that. Does everyone through COVID, did your why change? Your purpose or passion and your values? Your values probably didn't change. Your principles didn't change, but did your why change? Anyone want to share that? Because I think it was an important time to reflect and grow the past 20 months or get clarity, right? Anyone want to jump in?
I think the how, seems like in our case, the how changed, not so much the why. And the how being we're less siloed thinking in where people need to be. Do you need to be in the Charlotte office, right? Or can we hire the best people around the world no matter where they are? COVID certainly opened up changing our mindset about people physically having to be here in headquarters versus being wherever they live, right? So that how part for us on the core values really, it touched a different mindset going forward, that we really don't care if you are here in Charlotte or you're somewhere else for that matter. But before it was, you had to be here. You had to be in the office. And now that mindset's kind of gone, which is refreshing.
Yeah, thanks. Dan?
Yeah, I think it is a little deep, but I think people realize that life is fragile and finite, right, in a broad stroke. And I know a lot of people that I want to work someplace where I care about what I do and I enjoy what I do. It can't be just about the paycheck anymore because it's not enough. The Covey comments, right, about building trust, building a mission you believe in. I deeply believe in you, and I didn't talk about this. I was a Covey certified trainer at General Mills. And I've taught the Covey habits to every single employee at every single company. Even today, every January, I do an open to the community 7 Habits course where I teach it. I buy the books. I do it for free. I personally teach it. Understanding what it is that drives you forward in life is the foundation that has allowed me to be successful. And I think a lot of people discovered that in COVID, which is, what am I doing? And why am I on this flywheel going round and round? And how should I change what I'm doing? And I think that impacts how you have to lead technology teams.
I mean, well said. I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that. Isn't it interesting? You walk into a global event, a global crisis. Todd, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. We share a lot in common. Others here too as well. But this idea of being a positive, reflective mindset and understanding. Okay, you are where you are. Kind of a Steve Jobs idea. Connect the dots. He was great about connecting the dots. You're here in this time and place. What do you really dream and want to become and be known for? Whether it's today, tomorrow, or when you leave, right? But then what do you need to change internally to accelerate that material or that reality? And it's a change of thought process. Yeah. It's a change of ideas, not values, but a change of energy flow. And I think, candidly, it's really trusting your intuition. Getting to a heart level where you trust your intuition and you get into that flow state, like Michaela Schifrin, where she skied that, you could see she really knew on that second run what she was doing, when she was putting accelerator on, and when to back off. Yeah. That's a world-class performers get that place. And I think we as leaders need to understand that, right? It's a fascinating journey, isn't it?
It is, and if there's one kind of overall theme or a challenge I put out there about thinking differently and broader for this group, there's connective tissue and positive connective tissue between big corporate IT and entrepreneurial IT and startups. Because you will see people in their career go from big company to startup, back to big company. And the fact that we have a huge, robust IT infrastructure here with lots of opportunity for people, it allows entrepreneurs to come in because they know if their startup fails, and they know a lot might, or if they join a startup that fails, and a lot might, there are fantastic opportunities, and they will be gobbled up instantaneously in this marketplace. And so I think that's part of what we've tried to do over the last 10 years is build connective tissue between, I'll call it corporate, larger company, IT, and what's happening in the smaller entrepreneurial sector, because there are real positive synergies to both building and picking up momentum at the same time.
So go back to your stats. You went through them so quickly. Pretty impressive.
It is, and talk about having big goals. I joke that if we had said these were our goals when we launched 12 years ago, I would have been laughed out of the state of North Carolina, right? So doing things that people think are impossible is part of what personally motivating for me. But over the 12 years, $2.5 billion in venture capital raised. And people in Charlotte deal with big numbers all the time. So they're like, is that a lot? Is that not a lot? That's a lot. 350 million in exits, 1,200 jobs created locally, 3,000 entrepreneurial events. It has been a real game changer for the region and the ecosystem. It's really put us on the map.
I love what you're saying. Now, go back 12 years ago or 13 years ago, right? The iPhone got launched, right? Mm-hmm. And I was in Silicon Valley launching HMG. We're going on airports and airplanes. Everything was empty. You know, the roadways, we're in the middle of a financial crisis, right? Mm-hmm. On the billboards, Microsoft would say, on a white billboard, it would say, Microsoft was formed in a recession, right? That billboard. Yeah. And what's fascinating is as everything opened up, the software opened up, yeah. And the world, the cloud became so prevalent, right? And the iPhone took off. Things dramatically changed, and the venture world has dramatically changed. Out in Silicon Valley, you know, it's not uncommon to get in an A round, not 5 million, but 25 million, mm-hmm. or a B round, you know, 50 plus. So has that impacted you, or has it made it more advantageous not being in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I think it's now a positive. I think it was a negative. 12 years ago, if a tech entrepreneur got funded in Charlotte, it was probably by a venture firm in New York or San Francisco, and the first thing they would require is for that company to move to the Valley or move to New York. Now, and this changed probably 6-8 years ago after the Great Recession, now if they're in Charlotte and they have a team in Charlotte and they can grow talent in Charlotte, they're like, no, stay right where you are. We love that cost of living, because think of the math. A $7 million Series A round in Charlotte acts like a $15 million Series A round in New York and San Francisco. For so half the price, you get the same upside potential, the same, so you can literally double your IRR as a venture firm, and they finally figured that out.
That's fascinating. Any other builds, folks? Anyone else work in the venture space at all in the room, or want to? Because how do people get involved with you, Dan?
So a lot of people in this room are already involved and would love to talk to anyone who wants to get it connected, even if it's exposure. AvidXchange is a good partner of ours. Mike Prager, we've watched that whole journey from original founder to just going IPO 2 months ago. $4.5 billion, I think, was the valuation. And he uses us as a way of getting his people to continue to think like entrepreneurs. And so what a lot of corporations do is how do they plug people into our ecosystem, high potential people, people that want to have some job enjoyment. And that's been a really effective way to engage. Number one, attending the conferences, coming to the venture conference, even if you're not going to invest, to understand, to get a pulse for what's out there and seeing what's there. You all should be coming to the venture conference every year.
So here's an obvious question people might have. Can people invest alongside you or with you?
They can. So we do have a venture fund, and it's open to people. I can't generally solicit, but there's another fund coming up that we're going to start fundraising for. And so would love to talk to you one-on-one about that. But you'll be impressed with our IRR from our first fund.
Nice. What's a question down here in front? Right here? Excellent.
So I can agree with your overview of kind of like Charlotte as this great place to work, great environment and weather, and we're starting to see a lot of the folks in technology who are here. Typically, if you talk to them, they came from someplace else, right? They were up north, it was cold or what have you. What can we do to really get more organic growth within the area, whether it's through the Charlotte school system, to have those folks prepared to work in technology. And then additionally, I'm at that stage right now where I've got kids who are graduating college or recently graduated college. I've got nephews and nieces. They all came out quants. They're all in big data or analytics or so forth, and none of them are coming back to Charlotte. They're all going to New York, or they're going for something different. I think until you get tired of the weather and so forth, maybe you come back. How do we get them to come here? And then I would say, do we need a large-scale tech firm to be that hub in the middle of Charlotte that then cascades all of this VC-type activity?
Yeah, it's great question. So Kay Reed was here earlier. I'll give a shout out to Kay, the founder of a group that was called ITology in the Charlotte Area Technology Collaborative, which ceased operations during COVID, unfortunately, for lack of funding. But one of the things they started, which we are continuing, is this thing called the Charlotte Area or Charlotte Technology Breakfast. And it's all the leaders across technology companies, big and small, who want to focus on tech talent for the Charlotte region for the long term, in the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year vision. How do we get it? How do we keep it? And how do we grow it? If you haven't heard about the Charlotte Technology Breakfast, we meet every other month. We really should connect on that, because it's us as a community trying to figure out the answer to that very question. And I don't think there's any one magic pixie dust answer to that question. I think it's a lot of things working at the same time. Part of that is us coordinating as a community. How do we address that issue, right? Because I don't think any one company can do it.
Well, hey, Dan, great stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I love that HMG is here in Charlotte. Thank you for bringing this kind of connectedness to our community. It's fantastic.
We want to partner more. I think, what Covey taught me, the example will be in his book. When he started working at Microsoft years ago under Ballmer, he had certain things he could say or not say while he was on site. This is off the record, by the way. And the stock went nowhere. Under Satya, say anything, everything you want to talk about the connected world. We got to partner with everyone. So different philosophy, different mindset. And so, keep your friends close and your frenemies closer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And but build positive synergistic relationships. 1 and 1 can equal 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. We're going to go to a break, guys. We'll be back in like 20 minutes for our next session. Hopefully you'll stay with us right to the end. Super, thanks.
For more information, please visit hmgstrategy.com and keep up to date by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you.